everyone. Welcome. Sorry about the late start. We just had a couple technical difficulties. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Courtney Hendrickson, Economic Development Director with Farmington and Chair of the CEDAS Program Committee this year. Today's program is the 7th CEDAS Academy webinar and the 4th one for 2013. As you know, CEDAS Academy is a webinar series where we invite CEDAS and prospective CEDAS members as our audience and local experts as our speakers. This webinar series is held at 12:15 in the tradition of a lunch and learn, today about 12:22, sorry about that. So attendees can sit at their desk or anywhere and spend half an hour to 45 minutes learning about a relevant topic from a local expert. The GoToMeeting software is great because attendees can access the program anywhere that they can get computer and or phone access. And I always like to thank CERC, who is providing that technology today, as well as the use of their facility and their marketing support, which helps us get the word out about our program. Remember that each CEDAS member that attends 3 or more Academy sessions annually will receive recognition at our annual meeting in December. And to find out what you have missed out on in our first sessions or hear them again, you can find the recordings on our YouTube channel, and you can access that channel directly through the CEDAS website. Today's program will also be recorded and uploaded to YouTube for anyone who missed it or would like to see it again. Don't forget, the program committee is committed to bringing you something each month in 2013. The dates for the August social networking event will be announced soon, and the September quarterly meeting is going to be held on September 19th at Stores. So you can mark your calendar for that, and we'll have more information. Thank you all for your support. Let's now turn to today's topic. We're going to be hearing from Castonguay, Director of Branding at DECD, who will present a webinar focused on the state of Connecticut's approach to business marketing. Christine will talk about the goals of the campaign, the target audience and industries, the campaign approach, and the competitive advantages of doing business in Connecticut. With the success of the state's brand campaign, Connecticut is poised to amplify its economic development efforts and impact and influence a key audience, business leaders. By leveraging the momentum from the launch, we will demonstrate that Connecticut is a place where companies large and small in each of our target sectors are creating the future through the development of revolutionary new products and services. This positions Connecticut as a compelling location for innovative, best-in-class businesses with the goal of attracting new businesses and talent, retaining existing, growing our entrepreneurial sector, and promoting our economic development programs and incentives. Christine will share what elected officials and economic development professionals should know about the program and answer questions from attendees. So if you do have questions for Christine, please type them in the chat section of your control panel, and we will try to address those either as we go throughout the program or at the end. Thanks again, and now I'm going to turn it over to Christine.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Christine Castonguay. Thank you so much, Courtney, for that kind introduction, and thank you for having me here today. I really just wanted to share with you the journey that we've been on at the state for about the last 15 months. As hopefully many of you know, we launched a new state brand, Connecticut Still Revolutionary. We have largely used tourism as the platform to launch that into the media marketplace by running TV commercials for over the last year in spring and in the fall markets specifically. But also last fall we started integrating the brand and a new campaign into economic development, and that's what I wanted to bring everyone up to date on today. So with that, I did want to bring to everyone's attention, we've had a lot of questions over the last 15 months regarding what is the logo for the state. Do I still use, for example, the DECD logo? What about the Connecticut Commission on Culture and Tourism logo? We really are on a path of consolidation. And everyone, it should be out with the old and in with the new. So as you can see on this slide, we're trying to illustrate that all of those that were using DECD or the CCCT logo should now be using Connecticut Still Revolutionary. We have even taken that a step further and created logo treatments that go down to the individual offices within DECD, as you can see here. Largely this is used for giving credit for grants that recipients might receive, but you will also see this from a regional standpoint. We have logo treatments for all of the regions throughout the state. And we've even started to get this treatment out into like the Department of Housing and some other agencies. So as I said, it's a journey. It takes some time, but this is the direction we are all heading in. So when I say we extended the brand into business development, we really took a step back and said, what are the 5 key things we're trying to focus on for business development? And you know, when you look at that, it's some of it is very obvious. Attract new business, retain business. We want to continue to grow the stage 2 and the startups, recruit new talent, and promote the programs and the initiatives that have been coming out of DECD. So with that in mind, we also did a little bit of benchmark work before we headed out against those 5 key areas. And as you see on the left-hand side, challenges that were clearly identified in this research that we had done with about 300 C-suite executives in and out of state. No real surprises here, but definitely wanted to document there's a relatively low awareness of Connecticut as a state in which to do business, or I should rephrase and say attractive to do business in. We were about 11%, which at the time, which is, you know, just coming up on a year ago, was on par with Massachusetts and New Jersey, but certainly below where New York, Florida, and Texas are. And that's not surprising also because when you consider the amount of media dollars that go behind those states, and most recently the efforts that Governor Cuomo and Governor Perry have been making for New York and Texas, respectively, the competition is heating up, as we have all been seeing and hearing. We are in a low consideration set, you know, in that half of the executives had no interest or thoughts of moving or expanding to Connecticut. And overall, the personality of the state is not overly friendly to do business in. And not innovative, which, you know, again, the good and the bad of it is when you see something like that, and you know you're building a brand around innovation and a place of inspiration, we also have solutions in place to help move the needle specifically on innovation, such as CT Next and the innovation ecosystem and some of the great work that's going on. So that's a nice segue over into opportunities. And really just trying to focus on what are going to be the key messages, what can we hang our hat on, and we have the most educated and talented workforce we feel here in Connecticut, and we're able to attract the best and the brightest, and a lot of that is really coming to fruition now with Jackson Lab and some of the biomedical companies that are in the state and the talent that they're able to attract. But at the end of the day, it's the blend of the quality of life. A great statistic just came out in the last 2 weeks. I don't know how many of you know about it. By Measure America, it's a recent survey. Connecticut was actually voted #1 for quality of life. And that really is because of that work-life balance. The #1 questions we receive all the time, once they get through all the business side of things, is quickly, what is the school system like? You know, what parks are we going to be near? So businesses and executives specifically are looking at that whole picture, and we have a lot to offer in that space. The Center of Innovation, as I was just talking about a moment ago, innovation ecosystem and CT Next, and just as recent as yesterday, we put a call out there for call for new ideas. There's a tremendous amount of activity in that space. And DECD, as we all know, has been extremely busy this year with the First 5 program and Small Business Express. So there's a lot of initiatives underway to support our commitment to economic development. And when you look at the competition, again, I have to preface that and say outside of probably New York and Texas, while a lot of states spend a lot of media dollars on tourism, on promoting their state from a tourism perspective, not a lot of states are investing in marketing and advertising, especially in the digital marketplace, and that opened up an opportunity for us, which I'm going to shed some light on in a couple of slides. So the other thing we did before we set out on this strategy is really took a hard look from a media standpoint and media consumption. We wanted to identify if there was going to be a sweet spot or a point of integration where you have a C-suite executive watching potentially the same programming that someone in our tourism target market would be watching. And believe it or not, we did find a nice unique blend of media that served both purposes. So with that, when we set out last fall and also this past spring, we're timing our campaigns so that they are coming out integrated and they're providing an additional leverage of the brand and of the message about the state. So our mission, again, keeping in mind that this is economic development and tourism, but it's also building that brand awareness of the state as a whole, is creating that place brand. It's a place where we want people to identify as a great place to work, live, and play, and to have fun. Our market or audience, if you will, is businesses, but it's also our residents here. We want them to know of all the great things that are going on inside our state as well as outside of the state. So our media plan parameters, this is specifically on economic development. Again, targeting the business leaders and owners, what we call the C-suite executive, but we also took it a level deeper because that would be from a broad view and said what specific sectors or industries do we really want to focus on. And bioscience, as I mentioned before, clearly came to the top, as did manufacturing, insurance, and entertainment. And I preface that a little bit because we cross into the digital media space in that industry as well, and startups and stage 2 companies. Primarily, we're looking at the men buying target of 25 to 54. And while we do have some money to put into media, we had to be cognizant of we didn't want to spread it too thin. So we really concentrated on Connecticut and New York as for the DMAs that we were going after. So this next slide is just an example of our media plan that we ran this past spring. This was a digital buy only. We did not run TV in the spring. But it gives you a good idea of how we did achieve that broad messaging capability across New York Times and Entrepreneur.com, but then also had a rather endemic view with the industry support, which was the Biotechniques, the Industry Week, the Business Insurance, and Synopsis. And the other thing we tested pretty heavily was the social aspect for business development, and that's LinkedIn and Facebook. And by Facebook, I should just explain a lot of companies, as we all know, have Facebook pages now, so it's not necessarily reaching into our target audience on their personal page, because that's not a fit with the model, but it's more targeting people that belong to groups or organizations or that are fans of particular companies on Facebook. And we just wrapped this campaign. It just ended on June 30th. We just received the first round of results, and we're doing some analysis now. but it's looking like it's going to be very strong, and it's going to help shape where we start to invest again in this fall. So you might be asking, what marketing assets have been built over the last year? So in addition to the digital assets in terms of the banner ads that were created, which I have some samples to share with you, there was a 30-second TV spot produced, and it highlighted Pratt & Whitney and ESPN and Alexion, and that ran last fall, and that will be running again this fall. In addition, we launched a microsite similar to the tourism side of the house. Tourism has ctvisit.com as their call to action. So on the economic development side, we really felt that we needed a marketing-friendly landing page to send people, and therefore we developed ctforbusiness.com. And we set out on a rather robust mission, if you will. We went to 10 individual companies and interviewed key people at those companies and asked them pretty pointed questions regarding, why do you continue to stay in Connecticut? What has Connecticut provided for your company? And if they had any personal stories or aspects that they wanted to share. And it was really, really great to listen to what all these key executives had to say, and each one of these stories is rather unique. So we've put those out on ctforbusiness.com, and you can take a moment if you can and listen to those, because they could also help you if you were building a case, you know, to a particular target segment. There is an asset out there for your use. In addition, we also took those 10 videos and took the best snippets of each one and created a 2-minute promo video. Again, just highlighting these key executives and what they had to say about having a business here in Connecticut. So, and oh, I should add one additional item, added value. It was a really interesting moment when Business Insurance approached us, and they wrote a beautiful white paper, of course, co-edited by the state, but it's a great asset. It's available online, but we own the rights to it. So I know the Department of Insurance is attending, for example, a conference coming up, and they're able to take the file and go make copies at a Kinko's and use that as an additional piece. So there's just a lot of great work going on. So we were going to try to share with you the TV spot, if you just bear with us.
Breaking new ground in the fight for patients with severe and ultra-rare diseases. We're Connecticut, companies large and small, using our revolutionary spirit to work smarter to drive innovation. We're Connecticut, working hard. We've created 20,000 new jobs in these tough times. Join us and learn the advantages of doing business here at ctforbusiness.com.
Okay, so that was just a quick sample of the 30-second TV spot that we had done, and it is available on our website, and that's the screenshot that we have up for you now. Also, if you look below the feature box, you start to see the links to the individual videos I was mentioning before. In addition, last fall, we also ran some print ads in the industry verticals, and those are out there for viewing as well under CT Revolutionaries, which is in the top navigation bar. So what you're looking at here is an example of some of the digital creative assets that we have now been able to pull together. This one in particular is what we call an expanded digital banner. So an individual would view the top film strip and, for example, click on Innovation, Chuck Pagano from ESPN, and then that lower box would appear, and then they would also be able to go right into a video element if they chose to. These are just flat banners that we ran. Again, as you can get a feel for them, they ran on the industry-specific sites, and they performed, like I said before, relatively well. And you're starting to really see a look and feel coming together for the campaign. And there'll be more of these going into market in the fall. So while we didn't have the budget dollars to run TV in the spring, what we were able to do on entrepreneur.com is where it shows the Dell video box on the screen right now. They call that sort of the intercept spot. When you click on it, it would run our ad before it delivered the content that you might have been searching on entrepreneur.com. So again, we're anxious to see how the results of this particular digital buy worked for us, because it was another way for us to get the TV commercial out in a lower cost media. No campaign would be complete without a robust public relations engine running in the background. So we have partnered with Fleshman Hillard, which is our PR agency of record for the state, for DECD, and they are really in place to help us drive our national awareness for Connecticut business development efforts overall from a very broad standpoint, and to really try to help us create a place of thought leadership for Commissioner Smith and for the governor. We've been at this for probably just over 6 months now, specifically for business development. And the efforts to date, we've spent a lot of time trying to build relationships with national reporters to really build up that rapport so that opportunities aren't necessarily always proactive and we're reaching out and identifying a story we want to pitch, but that we also get asked to participate in some, as I was saying, thought leadership opportunities. So to date, there has been a handful of features that we've been able to secure. As you could see, thestreet.com with Catherine Smith. We had the governor appear on Fox Business. And actually coming up next week on July 31st, Catherine Smith will head out to New York and do a media tour. So that will be exciting to see what kind of results we get out of that. As I mentioned, the key to really optimizing the investment behind Connecticut Still Revolutionary as a state brand is being able to integrate wherever we can messaging for the brand, for tourism, and for business development. And hopefully some of you might have heard of this effort that went on this past spring, and it was called Connecticut Fan Favorite Town. And what this really did is, across the board, was a couple of things. To engage people on Facebook, our Facebook page, which is Visit Connecticut on Facebook, has grown from 5,000 to 150,000 fans just in 12 months. So people really are engaging with us. They want to talk about the state. They want to volunteer information. So not only did we ask them for their fan favorite town, talking about all the great places we have to go to here in Connecticut, but we also asked them to share with us their favorite business or destination within that town. And it was really overwhelming in that you had folks certainly put in Mystic and then the Mystic Aquarium. But we also had, places, put in Cromwell and then their local auto body shop. And they would talk about how much they love their local auto body shop. So it was across the board, from pizza places to actual tourist destinations to inns and bed and breakfast and bakeries. It really was nice to see the amount of energy that this brought to the state. And at the end of the day, we announced the town winner and the business within that town at the tourism conference back in May. And the winner was Niantic, and the place within Niantic was the Inn at Harbor Hill. And since that time, part of the acknowledgement, if you will, of receiving this honor from the state is we just wrapped a promo video that we did for Niantic. We were down there filming all over the town. We were in and out of all sorts of businesses, you know, lollipops and gumdrops and the Book Barn and obviously the Inn at Harbor Hill. And it was just really great to be out there talking to the business owners, also talking to the residents. So this was really the epitome of an integrated PR effort for all three, the Connecticut brand, tourism, and business development. And we're optimistic that we're going to be able to keep, you know, the feeling and the flavor of this program alive, and we hope to have more of these in the future. So what are the ways in which you could help to leverage the brand is what you might be asking yourself. And really, I think one of the main goals of me being here today and sharing with you the journey that we've been on is to ask you to be a brand champion. Hopefully, I've been able to provide a little bit more information into what we've been up to and why Connecticut Still Revolutionary works for the state on a holistic level. And you'd be proud to put the Connecticut Still Revolutionary logo on some of your marketing materials or on your website. We have a really great reciprocal linking relationship that has done phenomenally well for a lot of our partners on ctvisit.com, for example. And we'd like to do that on a number of other avenues as well. And to ask your partners where it makes sense also to refer to Connecticut Still Revolutionary or link to ctforbusiness.com. And I'd like to just sort of close by saying, and if there are success stories, you know, when you watch those 10 video clips out on CT for Business, yes, it is the large companies like ESPN and Lego, but there's also smaller companies that are on there as well. And we want to hear from them all, but the only way we know who to reach out to is if people share, you know, those great stories with us. So with that, that wraps what I was going to share today. If anybody has any questions or comments, I'd love to hear from you or take them now. Okay, so we had just a couple of questions that I'd be happy to try to answer for you. The first one being, how did you get others to use the brand? What methods have we used? And, you know, I'm going to start first by talking about from a tourism standpoint. As I said, the reciprocal linking, and I'm going to use a particular example with the Connecticut Science Center when we first initially launched the brand, and they started to link back to us via the Connecticut Still Revolutionary logo and vice versa. They saw a dramatic increase in visitation to their site. And then following that, they also participated in a co-op marketing department opportunity. So with that, they invested cooperatively with the state, and they ran electronic digital banners as well as some other creative with the state, and they saw tremendous results from that. So I think it's a combination of that reciprocal linking. Those that are able to participate in co-op opportunities are seeing a nice return. Certainly, again, on the tourism side, when they provide information to us, and this does work equally as well on the business development side, when they tell us that they're having a major event or they have a new attraction or they've improved their destination in some way, we now, as I mentioned, have that 150,000 list of fans, and they're very active. So we'll post updates on our Facebook page about their events, and ultimately that's driving traffic. So I think once people start to see and feel the power of what we're doing, it's not so much of a hard ask to ask them to adopt the brand and to put it out there. In addition, we have had some grassroots efforts in that we had some seasonal helpers literally going through line by line all of our partners from a tourism standpoint, checking their website, and if they had any of our old logo treatments, sending them a kind email and asking them to update. And we do that whenever we run into anybody who's using an old one, because it shouldn't be too hard to ask them to use the new one, because I'm sure they want to look as fresh and up to date as we do. On the business development side, again, starting with those 10 key businesses that we have the videos for, and highlighting their stories and sharing those stories. In return, they are also, where they can, putting our Connecticut Still Revolutionary brand. So it's probably not one simple thing. It's a culmination of many things. And the desire is to get this to go beyond tourism and beyond business development, and to get it more to a broader state level. But it takes time, and I think opportunities like this to educate people and to explain it is the way to go about it. So how does the cooperative marketing work? When I say that, it's a 50-50 match on the tourism side. So the partners do have to put funds up onto the table, and then we match those. And the creative can either be done by us, or many times our partners have a template that we provide, and they simply create something that works for them and equally supports the brand. Let's see. When you talk about regional treatments for the brand, do you just mean tourism regions? And the answer to that is yes. As of right now, we have the 5 distinct tourism regions have the logo lockups because we had to update their old ones. So that was what I was referring to. And I'm just going to take a moment here and read something else that might have just come in, so just bear with me. Okay, sorry about that. We did have another question that just came in that they wanted to know how we can identify our economic development region or community when using the brand? And that's a great question. I was just chatting with the folks here, and to my knowledge, from an economic development standpoint, we really want to elevate Connecticut Still Revolutionary. Now, with that said, if there is some sort of regionally funded breakout for business development similar to tourism, we can look at it a little bit deeper. So I'm probably going to have to get back to you with a more definitive answer on that one. So with that, as somebody noted, there is a black screen, and that is because the presentation has come to an end. But I am going to give you my email address if anybody would like to reach out and email me any other specific questions. I'll do my best to answer, and if I can't, I will certainly seek out the appropriate person to help get an answer. So my email address is Christine with a C-H, R-I-S-T-I-N-E, Castonguay, C-A-S-T-O-N-G-U-A-Y, @ct.gov. And with that, I thank you very much, and I will turn it back over to Courtney, and hope everybody has a great day.
Thank you so much, Christine, and I hope everyone really got a lot out of the presentation. I thought it was excellent. I'm sure we'll have you back for a future program. And thanks again for your support of our CEDAS Academy webinar series. Take care, everyone.